Hello. Why do I feel the need to always start off with hello? I have no idea. Probably because you have to start with something. Anyway, this video is to give you the rest of the information about your paper that you're writing for lab. I'm hoping you've begun, and I'm hoping most of you, I would like it if everyone, but at least most of you or any of you are having fun with it. It's intended to be fun and educational at the same time, not nearly as formal as the class. This one, personal stories. Um, so I gave you some information in January about how to start or how to do this. So we are going to look at where we are now. Um, Here we go. So original details written at the start of this term here. So we're going to take a look here real quick. Actually, let me open in new tab. So there we go. What? Page not found? What do you mean page not found? I guess I have to fix it. Um, hmm. Well, that's very annoying. We're going to talk about this, then we'll go back to it. So what this is you are writing a story basing it on fact, but it's a fictional story. And so you have to do is explain the Energy Pick article, which is from the paper stuff, which I'll show you again in a minute. And you need to show an understanding the difference between renewable and non-renewable resources. If you need assistance with this, let me know, because I kind of went into this with the assumption that you've been paying attention throughout the term and that most of you are either in the environmental science class or have taken environmental science. So, real quick, renewable resource means it's renewable. Like there's nothing we have to do to make it happen more. Wind, there's always going to be wind available here and there. That is a renewable resource. Solar, the sun, goodness, the sun is always going to be shining on us. The sun is a renewable resource. We also have, in the class, there was an entire PowerPoint and presentation on this one. We talked about also like using biofuels. We talked about tidal power, hydroelectric, things like this, stuff that will renew on a regular basis. Then we have non-renewable resources. Like the name says, they are non-renewable. And so this will be our fossil fuels, things made from stuff way back when. So this is going to be natural gas, oil, and coal, those kinds of things. Also going to, believe it or not, include nuclear because nuclear needs uranium, which is a limited source. But anyway, I'm focusing mostly on the fossil fuels. The fossil fuels, the coal, the natural gas, and the oil, are from things millions of years ago that were on this planet that as they died and rotted, more stuff packed on top. So it was like majorly compressed for millions of years to where all that's left now is basically the carbon that it was holding originally. And that's where that comes from. Clearly, we can't make this again because we don't have millions of years. So we have to look at that. That's the basic gist between renewable and non-renewable resources. You need to show an understanding of global warming. That's kind of like one of the big basics for environmental science is understanding what global warming and climate change actually means and what is kind of perpetuating it. Since this is lab and I realize not everybody has access to everything in the class, I am going to post a link to a video. Actually, it'll probably be two videos. One long-ish, it's like 30 minutes, but he amuses me greatly. It's a YouTuber, and he does a great job recapping all of it. And then another one is about 9 minutes that covers stuff that a lot of people aren't really thinking about that pertains to this. So that I'm going to post for you to try to help out. You need to provide sources from where the information was obtained. This is not a formal paper. You're not doing quotes. You're not actually even really doing a whole lot of stuff inside, but I need to know that you looked things up and where you got your information to base your opinion on. So you will just have a page at the very end of your story that says something along the lines of, all of my information or all my research came from the following, and then tell me where you got your stuff. That's pretty much it. Include new news material about the EPA pick and changes the EPA has gone through since January 20, 2025. This is a big one because if you're trying to tell a story about our environment and you're starting it on the energy pick, seeing how the EPA is going, you kind of need that to properly figure out your story if you're going to try to do it real. So again, write it as a story. It's not a research paper. This is a once upon a time kind of thing. Fictional story, but you have to tell me some real stuff. I am a huge fan of science fiction, and that's pretty much what science fiction is you take actual science, but then you tell a story around it. And so that's pretty much what I'm having you do here. Provide a story showing how today's decisions affect the future. It's pretty much the whole thing. You have to understand what's happening right now and the ramifications, whether good or bad, as to the decisions that are being made, and then stretch your mind to see what the end will be. Critical thinking skills shown in how the story ends. You can't sit there and say something like, in order to recapture and be energy dominant, the US of A decided to open more coal plants and had coal factories in every state. And then say, and after 50 years, the US was the head of all the energy, the air was clean, the seas were fresh, and everybody lived happily ever after. That's not critical thinking. So you can't do that. If you say something about there being a coal plant in every state, you would then have to talk about the increased level of mercury in all of the fish and the lack of clean air and the rise of more asthma and respiratory diseases. So whatever you say happens here, you have to show the logical conclusion. That way I can see that you understand it goes from A to B to C to D, that kind of thing. Grammatically correct. You are writing a story, but pretend it went through an editor and everything was fixed. There should not be any typos. Everything should be proper because you're supposed to be taking a long time doing this. This is worth 100 points. You need to actually take the time to reread your story. And I highly recommend reading it out loud because if you read it out loud, you will catch more mistakes than if you just read it in your head. Fix it. Has to be 100% in your own words. No quotes. This is a story. The only way you can get around a quote is if somebody in your story is saying that they just read and then you're talking about a news article, but it is not the news article. It would be like the headline, that kind of thing. But it is best to not do any quotes, just your story. And that doesn't mean don't use quotation marks because if somebody is saying something, obviously that goes in quotes. You have to look at the recent news in order to be as up to date as possible. Like I said, the EPA has been making a lot of changes. If you haven't looked it up, you totally should. I might throw a couple of articles in the announcements to help you guys. So keep an eye on for that. And what most people end up asking is about whether or not, like, how long does it have to be? What's the page limit? I do not do word limits or page limits because I want you to do a good job. When people have a page limit or a word limit, people get obsessed on making sure they fill that, and then the quality tends to go down. I want you to tell a good story. You need to cover all the material that is here. I'm going to show you the grading rubric in a second. You need to do that. And that is what will then dictate how long your paper is. Can you do all of the stuff I want you to do in 1 or 2 pages? Probably not. Can you do it in less than 10 pages? Yeah, I would think so. Do I want you to turn in a 50-page paper? No, I really don't, because I read everything everyone's going to send. So that's pretty much it for this. I now want to show you the grading rubric, but in order to do that, I have to go out and back in again. So I have the grading rubric ready here. And it just occurred to me in the other one, you might not have seen the grading rubric. Oops. So here you go. This is the grading rubric for us for the lab. So what's going to happen here is I will just select this or that. Notice that there's a lot of all or nothing. So say that you explained the energy pick article. There you go. Renewable and non-renewable. Say that you made an effort, but it wasn't showing that you 100% understood it. Same thing for global warming. You just kind of ballparked it. Sources, let's say that you did a great job with your sources. You included new material, but you didn't really make it a story. You did do a good job at showing how today's decisions affect the future. You showed critical thinking in how you did that, but you didn't really proofread as much as you should. You had some quotes, but you did have proper paragraphs. If you did this, that would get you 30 out of 44, which isn't bad, but you could totally do better. So if you got 30 out of 44 for your grade for this one, that would give you a 68.18. So not bad, but not great. You know, you can do better. Now I am going to go to, I have to, doing it in the background, to why in the world it didn't open that paper. So your previous instructions were right here. So you needed to begin with reading this article, which is about who was chosen to be our energy pick. And the reason this one is used and why you have to understand renewable and non-renewable is because this person is pushing for more fossil fuels. And so that's very important about the environment. So we already talked about researching renewable and non-renewable and about global warming. And then you're going to start writing. So the only things I added here was including stuff about the EPA. That's pretty much it. Since you're writing a story, there's no proper format. It's just a story. You do need actual paragraphs, though, because, if you do just one indent and like 5 pages of just block text, I can't read that. That's horrible. Don't do that. So use proper paragraphs. If you want to do chapters, feel free. Hopefully it's not long enough to need a lot of chapters, but if you want to do subdivided, that's fine. You have a lot of leeway in how to write this paper because it's a story. You are telling me a story, and in telling me the story, you're going to show that you learned all this stuff. That's pretty much all I have to say on this one. If you need anything, please message me. If you would like to meet via Zoom so you can talk some ideas out, get some feedback, I'm good with that too. So please just let me know. And yeah, get creative. Have fun with this one. Make sure to research the EPA right now. And yeah, I guess that's it. So peace out.